Hello, everybody. As usual, I'm just going to give it just a moment before we get started. Welcome to another free master class. I welcome everyone and thank you if you are watching the replay, so I do appreciate you. Just waiting for my operations director to give me the thumbs up. He's actually down in the basement making sure that the audio and the video is all good because as we know with technology, sometimes there are hiccups. So welcome everyone. Just to get started, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Annette Conrad and I'm the owner and lead creative for Edible Impressions. And I could not be more excited about this week's topic. We're going to be talking about pricing strategies, specifically if you have a side business or perhaps a cookie business and thinking about how to price your products and offerings. So I wanted to give you some thoughts on that. And I think you're going to find this pretty helpful. But really before I dive in, I just want to ask if you are not already a member of my private Facebook group. It's called Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101. I do welcome you. This is being broadcast in my Facebook group and also public. So I have been offering some free master classes on a regular basis now for the last couple of weeks, maybe even a couple months now. So every Wednesday night, as the owner and lead creative for Edible Impressions, I come on to alternate talking business sense, and the opposite Wednesday is then on technique of hand decorating. So last night was so fun. I was on decorating with a group of folks in support of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. It was a special event. Next week, I'm going to be doing hand lettering take 2. So I welcome you to join my Facebook group if you have an interest in transforming your side business to a maybe your livelihood or maybe just a way for you to make some money on the side as a side gig. I have been decorating for over 17 years and I have built my profitable nationwide business, family-run business from a hobby. So I'm here to share my knowledge and expertise for anyone who wants to listen. So welcome and thank you. I do see a handful of folks that are on. Hello, Linda from Louisiana. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Faye, thank you. She said yesterday was super cool. So it was really fun. It was in support, as I mentioned, for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I'm very proud that my company business, Edible Impressions, is on a team in support of Team Emma Rose. And so we are in week 5 of a 10-week campaign fundraising for pediatric blood cancer research. So you can learn more about how you can help or spread the word. We're selling cookie decorating kits in support of the campaign, and 50% of the proceeds are going to the cause. So I'm really excited about that. And next week, Thursday, don't worry, we'll get to the topic soon. Next week, Thursday, is going to be decorating our happy hour kit. So if you want to just hop on and watch and learn, ask questions, I'll be fielding questions live. You can provide your own cookies. That's going to be a lot of fun, and that'll be at 7 p.m. If you want to see any or all of our events that are hosted by Edible Impressions, please follow our business page, Edible Impressions, and under the event tab is where you can see all of the upcoming events. Of course, I do some special events in the private Facebook group. One that I just adore is my Rapid Fire Friday. It's been so much fun where I answer 5 questions in rapid fire format, and has to do with anything that would have come up in the last week or so. So it's been really fun. And everything is recorded and you can always catch the replay. Okay, so if you would like to really learn the fundamentals of transforming your business, I welcome you to join. And I truly believe that the best marketing strategy that you can have, and this is really my philosophy in my business and has been even in my former business, if you will, or life. I was an event coordinator, associate director at Marquette University for 24 years. And I tell you that your loyal customers, your following, your fans are going to be your best marketing strategy. And I think you take care of your customers. And we're going to be talking about pricing, and pricing is one way that you can absolutely take care of your customers, particularly by giving a value-added pricing structure. So we're going to talk about that. So thank you. Let me just take a quick peek here. Indiana we have on. So yeah, shout out where you guys are tuning in from. We've got folks from Ohio. Hello. Okay, Denise, you say that it keeps cutting in and out. For whatever reason, right at the start of my broadcast, there seems to be a little bit of selectively, not for everybody, but just a few people say that it's a little choppy, but the majority, and when I play back, it looks good. So I have a feeling it might have to do with, on your end, I don't know for sure. I'm not that tech savvy. I have to give credit to this beautiful setup here for my operations director and my husband, Larry Conrad, who is responsible for this. So he's more our tech guru here. So thank you. So you might help if you want to just back it up a little bit or close down and then join us again. That seems to do the trick for the few people that have had a problem with it cutting in and out. So, that's technology for you. Okay, so Edible Impressions, we are located just north of downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So if you're wondering where I am, I'm just north of Milwaukee, and this is the lower level of my bakery. So I welcome you to my bakery. My production space is upstairs, and I always do say that we have a pretty small space, but we are a mighty operation with a nationwide reach. And I tell you, I'm surprised I look as good as I look at the moment because we've had a week. Wow, we shipped out probably over 3,000 cookies. We had decorating kits going out this week. We had cookie decorating kits going out on behalf of Leukemia Lymphoma Society. We took a couple little rush orders, helping a few folks out, but I have to give a shout out to my team. They're incredible, absolutely incredible. So we had a great week, and it's just going to get a bit busier, I think, now that in-person events are coming back together. So we're really happy about that. Okay. So I think we're just going to get going because we have a lot to talk about. Boy, we've got California. Thank you so much. Love California. We've got some family out in LA, so they might even be watching. So what we're going to do for the next maybe 30 minutes or so, the lengths of these master classes, I do dedicate a full hour, but it really depends on your engagement. So I do welcome Q&A, live Q&A. So I'll kind of keep an eye out on the chat every once in a while. But I do have a little bit of a presentation to go through, but I really do like it when there's a little bit of conversation and questions that come in. If you pose a question after this has concluded, you can be assured that I will go back into that feed and I will answer your questions. And I do welcome you, if you have a question that you don't want to put out publicly, you can go ahead and DM me as well. So what we're going to talk about now are, I called it 5 strategies, but I think they're just 5 things to consider when you are considering a value-added pricing. And for those of you that don't know what value-added pricing strategy is, I will explain that. In fact, there are many, many different types of ways that you can price your offering. So whether it's a product or a service, there's so many ways. And I did a bit of research, and by no means am I, an author of a book or do I run a podcast, but I love, as many of you know, I love to read and I love to listen. I love to, really, see what the conversations are out there when it comes to pricing. Fridays, my Rapid Fire Friday format, pricing always comes up. So I know that this is the struggle for you if you are just starting out on your business, or maybe you are in your business and you're just not seeing the profit that you want to see. So there are strategies, many different pricing strategies, and I want you to kind of think about which one you are doing now and maybe consider changing it or just trying something different just to see if it makes a difference. So I'm going to first of all just go through, I think there's actually 8, but I'll go through them fairly quickly. But what are some of the different pricing strategies? And some of these might sound familiar and you might think of a brand immediately when I talk about it, but in no particular order. But the first one is price skimming. So if you know what price skimming is, just kind of give me a thumbs up in the feed there. But basically what that is in a nutshell is that when you set your prices super, super high, okay, so maybe it is a brand new product, you're introducing it into the market, there's very few competitors, so you can really, in a sense, kind of take advantage of the market, and you price really high, and it's really ideal for it's ideal for those that are just starting out in the market. So a brand new product that's never been around. So that's kind of like price skimming, but it can be a little risky. Another one is called market penetrating pricing, and it's kind of the opposite. So here's the thing. That means that there is already a market. So let's say you have a product or a service and you feel it's fairly saturated, but you want to kind of get your foot in the door. What happens is you do the opposite of, setting those prices high. What you're doing is you're actually going the opposite. You're setting those prices super, super low for you to kind of get your foot in the door. But again, it can be a little risky because it does undercut your competitors, may not be 100% ethical, so there are some, definitely pros and cons, and we're not going to get into the pros and cons of each of these pricing strategies, but that marketing penetration pricing, sometimes is necessary for a company, I guess for a small business just trying to get their foot in the door, but it's not sustainable. So you do have to be careful with that. And it's really hard when you start your pricing out low. It is very hard to kind of be able to raise those prices, or, give that value added pricing, once you started Allure, and we'll talk about that. But, Marsha just asked if this will be available to watch later. Absolutely. So yes to the replay, and thank you for those. I will always talk as if you are watching the replay. We're glad you're here. So yes, all of my free masterclasses are available for replay. You can always see all the events in the events section of Edible Impressions business page. And then I do have some other opportunities in my private Facebook group, which is called Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101. So I do welcome you to join me there. We're having a great time, and it's such a lovely community. Everybody is just so engaging and is so positive. I love that because I'm a very positive person. Okay, so we've talked about price skimming, we've talked about market penetration pricing, and premium pricing. So premium pricing is a lot of times called luxury or lifestyle pricing. So I'm sure you probably can think of a couple right off the top of your head, especially if you are on Instagram. Those are very, very easy to pick out. So it's those super high quality products that are pretty highly priced, but they're very specific to high income individuals. So they are super targeting those high income individuals. So premium pricing. Opposite is going to be your economy pricing, which is targeting customers that, are looking for a deal, so you can think of, the Walmarts of the world and things like that. Which is not a bad place to start. Maybe a topic for another conversation later. But, if you are just starting out, you're not even sure you want your hobby to be a business, but you're maybe just making cookies for family and friends, you could start off with economy pricing, just to be able to cover your costs, if you will. The big thing about choosing the pricing strategy is making sure that you are covering your costs, plus you leave some opportunity for profit. Okay, folks, you have to realize that you're in business to be a business. Businesses that are not making profit, to me, can't really be called a business. Okay, that's probably a little stretch there, but you know what I mean. Why are you in business? You are in business, yes, because maybe you love what you do. I love what I do, but this is also my livelihood. So we are in to be able to pay our bills, to be able to do things, and to have free time and such. So whatever that why is for you. Okay, so that's economy pricing. Bundle pricing. Bundle pricing is something that I definitely would encourage you to consider. Once you're established, bundle pricing allows you to pair or bundle some of your products or offerings together. So a good example would be here's a good example. So I sell cookie decorating kits as part of a experience. They're free-form decorating kit, but I bundle them with a online virtual experience. So they can choose to do the kits on their own, or they can bundle it with the live virtual experience. And then even another bundle or another piece of that package could be, we actually have collaborated with Buzz Impressions, which is awesome. I love their name, Buzz Impressions, Edible Impressions. It's such a great pair. So they're a local coffee brewer. And so we've added small packets of coffee to our cookie kits as a bundle option. So it allows you to give maybe a price break, or just give a value added, if you will, by bundling products together. So, okay. All right. So then we're going to come back more in depth, but the value-based pricing. Value-based pricing is basically, in a nutshell, very quickly, is how is pricing to the level of what your customer believes your product is worth. Okay, so that's going to be a little, it sounds a little intangible. It kind of is, but we're going to get back to that. So we're going to come back to that one because that's obviously the topic of tonight's conversation. And then another one is dynamic pricing. So dynamic pricing allows you to change the price based on the demand. And you know, I saw this is just one thing that came off the top of my head. Those cocoa bombs were so popular and I never made one, not one. I stayed in my lane. It was very tempting, but I stayed in my lane and didn't make them. But it was incredible to see how popular they became, but how incredibly expensive they became and how the price really went up because the demand was there. So dynamic pricing is when there's a demand, that's where sometimes you see those pricings go up. So, you know, seasonal merchants can certainly do this. You know, those that are selling items, products, services just for the holidays, they've got a market. There's a niche there and it's time sensitive and there's a lot of people that will purchase spontaneously. And so that's an interesting time of the year that you see dynamic pricing in action. And then the last one I'm going to mention, and then we'll get on to the value-based pricing, is competitive pricing. So that is setting your pricing based on your competitors. And, you know, I struggle with this one a little bit because it really will depend on your community and your area. I see pricing coming up a lot in the various Facebook groups that I'm in. And, you know, someone will ask, well, how much should I charge for this? And they'll show a lovely picture of the cookies. Sometimes you don't know the size of it. You don't know how they're being packaged. So there's many, many variables you don't know. And it's very interesting to me that I see people just chiming in, charge this. But they don't really know what all the variables are of that presentation. And so I think people are very quick to charge price per cookie. But I would challenge you to think about price per presentation. Okay, another topic for another day. But, you know, when it comes to competitive pricing, be careful not to copy or mirror what others are doing just because they're in your community, okay? Just because they're in your market. It's good to do competitive analysis, so go out there and see what other people are charging, but, you know, you don't know if that person is undercharging or overcharging. You know, look for things that you like, look for things that you don't necessarily care for, but really stay in your own lane, come up with something that differentiates yourself from other people, find value, talk with your customers about what they perceive the value is, and that's really going to help you figure out where your pricing is. So competitive pricing, again, is setting your pricing based strictly on your competitors, which I really don't recommend. Because you don't, again, it's just being too much like everyone else. So differentiate yourself, and you can absolutely do that with your pricing strategy. So, okay, well, I'm so sorry. It looks like Denise is having some trouble. So perhaps if you log off and log back on or catch the replay, I do apologize. It seems like everybody else is okay at the moment. So thank you for that. Everything seems to be in order on my side. Okay, so we've talked about the various pricing strategies and really determining which pricing strategy is right for you. Really is going to take a little bit of trial and error. So, you know, I would say, you know, choose one, be consistent, give it time. Okay, so don't switch around. You have to give it a little bit of time. But the key, I think, is going to be talking with your customers and asking for feedback. And you're going to know pretty quickly if you're priced right because of the response that you're going to be getting from your inquiries. But tonight I'm here to share with you a few strategies that if you are going to be going with the value-based pricing, so determining what the value is of your offering by knowing what your customers want and need, you will be able to set up some strategies so you know how to make sure that you're in line. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that. Okay. So let's see if there are any questions at the moment. Let's see. Thank you for joining, everyone. This is wonderful. So for those that are just joining, let me just do another quick introduction. My name is Annette Conrad, and I'm the owner and lead creative and your virtual instructor from Edible Impressions. It's a company I founded over 17 years ago as a hobby, located just north of downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we are women owned, but family operated. And I always mention that because it's very important to me. I have an incredible team. So for many years, I did this all on my own. And of course, with the help of my husband, but now we have a really nice team. A couple sisters, I have family, my mom, I have Jasmine, who is a fantastic cookie decorator. She's been with me over 3 years, so I consider her part of the family now. And I do have some folks that come in on a seasonal basis or as the business fluctuates, but by no means am I doing this all by myself. I couldn't be here with you tonight if I didn't have a team. And believe me, I've been in your shoes, folks. So if you're out there and you're a solo entrepreneur, or you're just getting started and you don't have a team, don't worry. But here's the thing, don't wait. For too long did I think I had to do everything myself, honestly. And I think I always saw, bringing on help was I saw it as an expense versus an investment. So if you can kind of change that mindset a little bit, it is amazing. I went from being literally the cookie snob to being the expert delegator. So yes, but it's been great. So, and if you truly want to be the CEO of your company, and I don't care if you are on your own or if you have one employee or if you have 20 employees, you truly need to step back from the day-to-day to a certain extent to be able to be in that CEO role. So, okay. So that's just a really quick little commercial break there. But let's get back to your value-based pricing. So, there's a couple of things that I would recommend if you want to try this strategy. And the best thing to do is to, get in front of your customers or prospective customers as much as you can. Now, I know it might be difficult, but I know a lot of you are under the food cottage laws. And so you are selling locally, okay? For me, it's a little bit more difficult to get face-to-face is what I'm going to be talking about here because in person, because many of my clients are out of the state. And so we have to use technology to get up close and personal with our customers or our prospective customers. But I do challenge you to, when there's an opportunity, when someone inquires, up to you if you've got the space and the ability to have face-to-face meetings, depending on the length or the volume of that particular order. Particularly for weddings, I would say it's very appropriate to have an in-person meeting to talk through, maybe offer samples, but nothing beats that face-to-face interaction. And so if you can't be in person, I found a wonderful strategy. I use Squarespace for my website, and they have a great feature which is called scheduling, which has allowed me to let my clients book a chat with me. And what's fantastic about it is not only is it automated, but it sets up a Zoom call right away. This has been a game changer for me. Let me tell you, just because of less interruptions, more formalized schedules, time dedicated to talk to my clients. But the key here is I'm getting face-to-face with my clients who are making inquiries off the website. So rather than just reading, seeing our offers, I'm giving them an opportunity to actually speak to a human, speak and see a human, to be able to talk about what their needs and expectations are. And here's the thing, when you are face-to-face with someone, whether it is in person or using technology, what do you get to see? You get to see the body language. You can tell so much by the body language and the facial expressions of your clients. So you're going to kind of get a sense of, what they're thinking, if you will. Even if you don't know them, it's easy to read people's body language sometimes. And here's the other thing that's really important is you can share your enthusiasm for what you do. So, if you're in the cookie business, believe me, you are dedicated, you have passion. This is something that you enjoy doing. And so I know for as long as I've been doing this, I still get excited over, sometimes very simple designs or beautiful packaging. And but my customers love that because it's genuine and it's true. So when they see me on a Zoom call or they hear me on a video response, they're hearing that enthusiasm and they're seeing that enthusiasm that I have. So they're going to get excited about the product that I'm offering and the service I'm offering because they can kind of that excitement is radiating through that video. So really important to get in person as much as possible. And it really does allow you to kind of uncover what some of their problems or pain points are. So that's really what you want to uncover. And I know we're talking about cookies here, but or I'm speaking about cookies. That's my business. But problems and challenges can kind of be on the negative side, but if you just flip that and say, what are their wants and their needs? That's another way to look at it. So, if they're requesting cookies for a wedding or a bridal shower, that's important stuff. These are major milestones for these families or team building. These are big things that are very important. And so you have to think of that. The cookies that you're presenting and the presentations that you're presenting are so much more than a cookie. They're really an experience. So as much as you can uncover what their needs and wants are, the better you can explain what the value is. So I know many of you have heard this. I know I have in my early years, and not so much anymore. And I can honestly say that, genuinely say that, because like I said, we are a nationwide profitable business, okay? And but we're consistent and fair in our pricing. But we've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work in listening to my clients and understanding what their wants and needs are. And early on, I used to hear this. I used to hear the word, it's too expensive, or you're too pricey. I cannot remember the last time I've heard that was ever a response. If someone doesn't proceed with an order, the reason typically is, and I'll explain this, is typically that they've gone another direction, or the event has been canceled, or they're postponing it. But very, very, very rarely have I recently, and when I say recently, in the last 8 to 10 years, I'm literally telling you, the last 8 to 10 years, have I heard one of my clients say that we're too expensive. Okay, they may say it's a bit out of budget, but that's a little different than saying you're too expensive. Okay, so there is a difference there. But here's the thing, not everybody is price sensitive. So they may say it's too expensive, but here's the thing, they're really not necessarily understanding the value of what you're offering. So don't be too quick to say, well, okay, take a little bit of time if you can to ask more questions about where that feeling or that perception is coming from. And so it takes practice. It's not easy, but I would challenge you to ask more questions before that person hangs up, or send them a follow-up email, thank them for their inquiry, let them know that you understand that it's too expensive, but see if you can get a little bit more information out of them. Ask them if it was, maybe it was the quantity. Was it the timing? Was it the packaging? Maybe there's something that you can do to, offer an alternative. Or maybe it's just because it wasn't convenient. Maybe they were thinking it's too expensive because you were going to be shipping and the shipping costs. Maybe they didn't know you offered bulk shipping, or maybe they didn't know that they could do a pickup order. So you never know what they truly mean when they say it's expensive. Okay, so I challenge you to dig a little deeper on that. Okay. All right, let's take a look here. I always like to take a quick peek, see how we're doing. All right. So, and the really other thing is that what you're doing when you're creating value-added pricing is you really need to get your customers involved in the conversation. So I'll give you an example. On our website, I welcome you to go to edibleimpressions.net, and under the About tab or the navigation bar, we do have our pricing out there. And there's a big debate. Do you put your pricing out there, or do you not put your pricing out there? I know myself as a shopper, and when I go on websites, I like to know at least a range of what we're looking at. It's a little frustrating, and I guess it depends on the product. A little frustrating when you don't know or have any idea what the pricing is. I actually do tend to move on to another website if I'm looking specifically for a product, something tangible. I kind of want to know what the price is. So for a long time, we didn't have our pricing online. And what was happening was we were getting inquiry after inquiry after inquiry. And that's when we were doing a lot of extra work, because a good percentage, and I don't remember exactly the percentage now, but we weren't in line, maybe for pricing, and this was many years ago, but the expectations weren't put out there on a number of fronts, not just pricing. And so we were kind of spinning our wheels a little bit. And so the website currently is pretty informative. It's pretty detailed, but I'm catering it to my people, okay? My ideal client. Most of my clients, are going to be either event coordinators, they're administrative assistants, they're executives, they're CEOs of their companies, they work for an experiential company. I know these people I know because I was an event planner myself for how many years, and I know they want the detail. I know they want at least an idea of pricing, and I know they want all that information in their fingertips, but then they also want to be able to talk to somebody quickly. So, my point here is, yes, we do have our pricing out there, but if you notice something when you look at our price sheet, okay, we don't have flat rate pricing. We have starting prices. Starting prices is going to be super important, especially if you're just starting off. And I'm not saying starting prices in the sense of, well, I'm going to charge this person this much, I'm going to charge this person this much, just being kind of willy-nilly with it. No, you definitely want to keep, it fair and consistent for all of your clients, because believe me, this world is big, but it's not that big. And it's amazing how people know other people. So always keep that in mind, that you just have to assume that those prices are public. So be very careful about that. You just want to feel good about the pricing. So and that's another, we could go a little bit deeper in that. But my point is, we've got starting prices, which allows us to customize based on that customer's needs and expectations. Okay, we're not locking ourselves in. So that's just something that I just wanted to mention about the pricing. So having it, sometimes if you put your pricing out there and you're too low, there's risks for that. Sometimes it's risky to put your prices too high, especially if you haven't done that market research. So be careful with that. But I think, marking higher, I think, is safer, if you will, than lower. Because here's the thing. I had to actually put a little Post-it note up on my bulletin board in my office, because I was having a little bit occasionally, and I still get that. I get imposter syndrome. It's like, wow, why would they want to hire me to be their virtual instructor? Or why would they want our cookie kits? Look how many beautifully decorated cookies there are. Everybody, I don't care how long you've been in business, at some point or another, you're going to question. But here's the thing. I know the value that my company and my team, and I know the efforts that we put in to offer a high quality product and service, that I know it's worth that much and more. So what you don't want to do, and what I've decided, is that I have high-end clients. Okay, we're not at that premium pricing. We're not at that luxury lifestyle. I think we're in a great spot because we're not the least expensive. We're not the most expensive, but we're just right. And but here's the thing. I think for a while my pricing was too low. I think for a while it was, because what happens is, if you're looking for those great clients, or those clients that are looking for quality, they might shy away from your website if your pricing is too low, especially with competitors. So you have to be a little careful with that, not going too low. So even if you're starting off, and like I said earlier, it's harder to raise those prices. So, you've got to determine, what is your time worth? What are your costs and supplies, your labor, all of that, taking consideration all of those items. And then again, leave room in for profit, folks. You got to leave room in for profit. So that's super important. You guys, you've got to pay yourself. Definitely. And for many years early on, we weren't paying ourselves. Everything we made went right back into the business. But again, another topic for another day. Okay. So that is wonderful. So let's see if there's any questions so far. Thank you so much. We've got a few folks. I know this is a tough time. I always struggle with the time, but I know we typically have quite a few people on replay. So thank you so much for watching. If you're just tuning in, my name is Annette Conrad, and I'm the owner and lead creative for Edible Impressions, where great cookies take shape, located just north of downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And my team, I didn't mention thoroughly earlier, but we make meaningful and memorable custom designed cookies for professional and personal celebrations. So we are just loving right now. We're doing special events. We've got gift boxes. We have cookie decorating kits going out to families and friends, doing team building. We do social virtual decorating experiences. Graduation is coming up, which we're super excited about. Bridal showers and all sorts of different celebrations. So we just love the opportunity to celebrate with you and your families. So, okay. So now that we've talked about the pricing strategies, we talked a little bit about, how you can determine pricing by getting in front of your client. One of the things is, once you're in front of that client, okay, what do you do now? You have them on Zoom, or you have them on the phone, and you're like, now what? What questions do I ask? And this is where those kind of 5 strategies that I mentioned come in. So what you want to do is definitely you want to information gather. Okay. Once you information gather, and I'll talk about that here in a minute, you're going to want to, once you information gather, you understand what their needs and wants are. You need to figure out, okay, what it is that you're going to offer that's going to, in a sense, provide that solution, if you will. So what products are you going to create based on what their needs are? And then what is that price going to be based on the value of what the customer perceives they will pay for it? Okay, so do your market research, and then really the final thing is really to get them involved in the conversation. So get them on the phone if you can, talk to them. If you have them and you're talking about what their needs are and expectations, and they ask for a quote, I tell you, don't tell them I'll get back to you. You should have an idea of what that's going to be based on the variables of that event. So, or that request. So what you want to be able to do is give them, if it even arranged, because then here's the thing, you've got them in front of you or you can hear them on the phone, you're going to be able to get a sense of what their reaction is. And you have the opportunity to build up that, you're going to be able to talk with them about what the value is. So another example would be, I talk to folks all the time about, they're wondering if they should do a virtual experience with their team, and they've experienced online activities that have been super boring. They said they're not engaging. People have been, have not been attending, or they sign off early because it wasn't truly interactive. So as I'm listening to my client talk about their past experiences, I am ready for the call to action to let them know that, look, our cookie decorating kits, number one, are out of box ready. There's no baking, no making frosting. We get right down to decorating. It is so much fun. We are going to take a screenshot of all of your attendees enjoying themselves taking, decorating cookies. I absolutely encourage, and in fact, you could even make a requirement for folks to have their audios on, their videos on. They're going to want to ask questions. We're going to do show and tell. Do you see my enthusiasm? And so, and I can guarantee them that they're going to have a great time because I have pictures, I have testimonials. And so, you have to kind of get up off the edge of your seat, but listen to what your client is telling you about what some of their pain points and what some of their hesitations are, and turn that around, and they will be quick to offer you some business. Trust me. Okay. So, this is a great question. Marsha, thank you so much for tuning in here. And she's got a question. How do you know what to start paying yourself? That actually is a really good question. And I do recommend a book. It's called Profit First. Please read that book. It is a phenomenal book. Michael, last name I've lost at the moment here, but Profit First. It is one of a kind. And it talks all about paying yourself first. For many years early on, I didn't pay myself, and all the money went back into the business. And now we pay ourselves, and I say we because we're a family business. It goes back into the family. And here's the thing: it could be 1%, it could be 20%. That amount, especially at the start, does not make a difference. Just make sure you pay yourself something, and as that profit comes in, you just inch that percentage up, and just keep going. And but yeah, if what I can do, Marsha, is I'm not being all that eloquent right now with my explanation of that or the percentages. There are some guidelines, but Profit First is a really, really good book. And it talks about that. And it talks about very quickly, especially if you're going to be starting off on a business, on opening up a business account. So if you're putting that money back into your personal account, you really should separate that. That's the number one thing you want to do, is set up a business account for your business so that you can separate that. So yeah, great question. But, definitely do not underestimate your value, okay? Pay yourself something and reward yourself too. So I get bonus checks. I've set it up where with my accountant, I have bonus checks coming in because of the way the business fluctuates. When we get when we have a good month, I have my base salary that I've decided on, but there are bonus checks that come in on kind of rewarding myself. My team gets bonus checks. That's another thing that with the value added is something that I am very careful about when I'm talking to my clients. I'd let them know. I'm very transparent, especially if it's a last minute order or a rush order. I let them know that I need to bring team members in. Not that they care about all the nuts and bolts, but I think in this day and age, people want to know this is a handmade product. So they need to know that, look, if I'm going to get your job done, an order done in 2 days, and you need 1,500 cookies in 2 days, this is what's going to take. And so my point is with that is that I actually incorporate in the pricing an opportunity to reward my staff. So my staff is on hourly, but they also get bonus checks based on some of the larger orders that we do because I appreciate their hard work, and it typically takes us off our normal schedule. So really, really important to me. So that's a great topic there. So thank you for asking that. Okay, so number 1 is going to be information gather. Number 2, create those products based on the needs and wants. You've got to communicate it, what the value is. So listen to your clients and then price it based on your customer's value. So don't be shy also to ask them, have you used a cookie decorator before? Some people have a cake that, what other products have they, how much have they spent? I think it's okay to ask. People will share, and you can tell them it's optional, it's not required, but the worst thing they can do is say, no, I'd prefer not to share that with you. But the more information you have, the better you'll be able to determine what your pricing should be. And then again, getting that client involved in the conversation is super, super important. So, yeah. Boy, so that was a lot of information. So again, going back to those different pricing strategies, we've got the price skimming, market penetration, premium pricing, economy pricing, bundle pricing, value-based pricing, dynamic pricing, and competitive pricing. You've got to do some research. You've just got to, I'm a very much of a list person, a pen and paper person. So, take a sheet of paper, make a line down the middle, pros and cons. Just start rattling off in your brain. What are the pros and cons for each of these strategies? And I trust that if you're a handmade business, a unique offering, that value-based pricing might be the strategy you're looking for, because it allows you to, you're not locked into a specific market, if you will, and it allows you to have a little bit better profit margin. But again, do your competitive analysis. That's going to kind of give you a really good idea of where you're at in comparison to others. But again, you always want to be unique and different. So, all right, let me just take a quick last peek here at the chat. So thank you so much for those that are on. Linda and Feifei, Linda, Marsha, Raketa. I'm going to say that wrong. I'm so sorry. So thank you so much. And Denise, I think hopefully Denise stayed on, but otherwise maybe we'll see her on the replay. So a couple things real quick before I run off. And again, I do encourage you, if you've enjoyed this free masterclass, I come on every Wednesday. Next Wednesday, the 11th, I am coming back for a decorating technique class. Last week we did hand lettering, all the different forms of hand lettering. But I think we realized, my sister Sylvia Schwartz, who is one of my most seasoned decorators, her and I did hand lettering techniques. So we did a live demo. And one of the things that we wanted to showcase was using a projector, but we never got to it. We had so much to cover, we didn't actually get to it. So we're doing hand lettering take 2. It'll be all about using a projector. And I really do appreciate you being on. Watch the replay. Post your questions. I promise you I will answer them. You can always DM me. Please join my community, Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101. Friday is the next rapid fire format, which is at 10 o'clock Central. Again, the replay is always there. That one is so fun. You can always go under the events tab to watch the last couple. And I think that is about it. So I think I'm going to sign off now. And one more order to do for tomorrow, and then I'm going to take a break, right? All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.